Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown tonight was from the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, while Rampage was taped from the Gas South Arena in Duluth, Georgia. I think that's how you pronounce the name of the city. But Smackdown tonight, as always, god-awful show, absolutely terrible. I mean, do you all care about Smackdown tonight when the news that broke out earlier today of Vince McMahon retiring from WWE, which I did do a video on. It was my previous video. So if you guys haven't checked out my previous video of me giving my thoughts on the news of Vince McMahon announcing his retirement from WWE, definitely go check it out. But that's pretty much the big news of today. And then Triple H, taking over for talent relations. He's going back to his, regular job as EVP of talent relations. So with the news of Vince McMahon announcing his retirement, did you all care what happened on SmackDown tonight? Absolutely nothing happened. So what do we see on SmackDown tonight? We had a rematch. Ludwig Kaiser versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which we saw 2 weeks ago already. We had the Viking Raiders versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky. We had Raquel Rodriguez, Smiley Raquel, versus Sonya Deville. In the main event, we had a six-man tag. The Street Profits and Madcap versus the Usos and Austin Theory. How many times have we got to see the Street Profits and the Usos? It's repetitive shit. And we're going to see them go at it again next Saturday at SummerSlam, where the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles are going to be on the line. And Jeff Jarrett is going to be the special guest referee. But overall, SmackDown, terrible show as always. Just Vince McMahon announced his retirement overshadowed everything on SmackDown tonight. And Bruce Pritchard, he's still in charge of creative, but he's going to be the next to go. Vince McMahon announced his retirement. Watch, Bruce Pritchard's going to be the next, and then Kevin Dunn, which I hope that happens. And then we can see the change coming in WWE with change in creative, change in better storylines, and change in their product. Make the product much better. But like I said, check out my video of my thoughts on Vince McMahon announcing his retirement if you guys haven't seen it. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Gonna have a little sip of my pink lemonade Snapple. It's good stuff. So let's get on with the review. So SmackDown opened up tonight with Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon was in the ring. She welcomed everyone to SmackDown, and she addressed her father's retirement. Stephanie wanted to say that Vince wanted to thank the fans and all personnel. Stephanie ended up saying that they are internally grateful to everyone, and she ended up leading the crowd to a thank you Vince chant. So pretty much that was basically that. Stephanie McMahon coming out there, addressing her father's retirement, and leading the fans to chant thank you Vince. And the news came out today, Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan are co-CEOs of WWE now that Vince has retired. But yeah, that was pretty much basically that, how SmackDown opened with Stephanie McMahon out there. And then we had the Street Profits. Angelo Dawkins, Montez Ford, they end up coming out, and they came through the audience And as soon as the Profits got into the ring, they ended up getting on the mic, and they ended up saying that they will become the new WWE Undisputed Tag Team Champions at SummerSlam, and that they want the smoke. So we had Austin Theory end up coming out. Austin Theory came out, he got boos from the crowd. Theory got on the mic, and he ended up saying that no one cares, because everyone will be too busy caring about what he does at SummerSlam. So Theory ended up saying that he will win the United States Championship from Bobby Lashley, the almighty Bobby Lashley. Then he ended up saying that he's going to cash in the Money in the Bank contract on either the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, or Brock Lesnar, and become the new undisputed WWE Universal Champion. And then we had the Usos end up coming out. The Usos got on the mic, and they end up yelling at Austin Theory to keep the Tribal Chief's name out of his mouth. And they end up saying that neither Montez Ford nor his wife, Bianca Belair, will be leaving SummerSlam with their titles. So then we got a brawl break out between the Usos and the Street Profits. And then Austin Theory started beating down the Profits. Madcap Moss ended up coming out to make the save. And the Profits then delivered a double super kick to Austin Theory. And he ended up flying over the top rope. So the Profits end up grabbing the titles, and they stood tall. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, same repetitive shit with the Street Profits and the Usos. You know, how many times are we going to see the Profits and the Usos go at it? You know, we saw them compete tonight in the 6-man tag, and now we're seeing them compete next Saturday at SummerSlam, where the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles are going to be on the line. So it's repetitive. That's all it is. And then we had Shinsuke Nakamura. He ended up coming out, and he got a huge pop from the crowd. And then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. They ended up coming down to the ring, and we had the first match of the night, which was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ludwig Kaiser. And this was a rematch from 2 weeks ago. The same shit. If you saw the match from 2 weeks ago, nothing new was done here in this match tonight. So the match ended up starting. Ludwig Kaiser ended up delivering some right hands to Nakamura's midsection. He started stomping on Nakamura's face. And then Kaiser delivered a diving uppercut to Nakamura. Kaiser ended up going for the cover, and Nakamura kicked out. Kaiser was delivering some right hands to Nakamura's head. Nakamura came back and delivered a kick to Kaiser's face. Nakamura then ended up nailing Kaiser with some kicks, and he ended up going for the cover. Kaiser ended up kicking out. Nakamura then ended up choking Kaiser with his boot, and then Kaiser fought back with some chops to Nakamura's face. Kaiser then delivered a suplex to Nakamura. He ended up going for the pin. Nakamura then ended up kicking out. Kaiser then delivered a snap suplex, and Nakamura fired back with a kick to the back of Kaiser's neck. So as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Kaiser was in control of the match. He ended up going for a suplex, and Nakamura countered that with a kick to the back of Kaiser's head. Nakamura then ended up hitting a sliding knee, and he ended up hitting the boot to Kaiser's face. Kaiser ended up rolling Nakamura up, but he ended up kicking out. So Gunther climbed up to the apron. Gunther ended up causing a distraction, and then he delivered a right hand to Nakamura while the ref was distracted. And then Kaiser ended up delivering the DDT, and he ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Kaiser ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther. They ended up standing at the top of the ramp. Gunther ended up yelling at Ludwig Kaiser to keep his hands down, and Gunther ended up giving Kaiser a pat on his back. And then he laid out a huge, vicious chop to Kaiser, which knocked Kaiser down. And that was basically that. But you all know WWE is breaking up Ludwig, Kaiser, and Gunther. It's going to be terrible for Kaiser as a singles competitor. But anyways, Nakamura versus Kaiser. We saw this match 2 weeks ago. Nothing new happened in this match. And then we had Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with both Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. She ended up asking about how their rematch will be different at SummerSlam. Ronda ended up saying that she respects Liv Morgan, but she will beat her at SummerSlam. She even said that Liv Morgan is a breath of fresh air and that she respects her. So Ronda Rousey ended up saying that when she beats Liv Morgan, she expects her to shake her hand. So Liv Morgan ended up saying that she can't say for sure that she will retain the title, but when she wins, she will be sure to shake her hand. Ronda ended up saying that she has more passion than anyone in the locker room, except her. So pretty much that was basically that. Just trying to sell their rematch at SummerSlam. That's all this was. And then we went to the commentary table. We saw Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. And Michael Cole, I have to say, he sounded like himself tonight. You know, he sounded different than when he had Vince in his ear. It's like he was doing commentating just, himself without having Vince in his ear. So Corbin ended up coming out of nowhere. Corbin ended up attacking Pat McAfee. He ended up sending Pat McAfee into the barricade, started mocking him. And then Corbin ended up heading backstage. McAfee ended up chasing after him. So we saw them go through Gorilla, and then they were backstage and they were brawling. Officials end up separating them. So that was that. And then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Pat McAfee ended up coming back to the ring. He got on the mic, and he ended up saying before he goes back to commentary, he has one thing to say to bum-ass Corbin. To which he led the crowd saying, bum-ass Corbin. So Pat McAfee ended up saying that he can't hide at SummerSlam. And he will put down the baby for a nap for good. Meaning Corbin. So that was what Pat McAfee had to say. But do you all care? Do you all care about Corbin versus Pat McAfee? And then we had the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky. I'm still trying to figure out how the Viking Raiders are new and vicious. So we had the New Day on commentary. Xavier Woods was wearing a unicorn mask. So Jinder Mahal and Eric end up starting this off. This was a quick match. So Mahal and Eric end up locking up. Eric ended up taking an Ivar, and they end up double teaming on Jinder. Ivar delivered some elbows to Mahal in the corner. Mahal and Ivar end up spilling to the outside. Jinder Mahal started beating Ivar down with some forearms. Ivar ended up sending Mahal into the ring stairs, and then into the New Day. And then we had the Viking Raiders win by countout. So yeah, the Viking Raiders end up winning the match by countout. Pointless. This was absolutely fucking pointless. And then we saw Adam Pearce. He was on the phone backstage. Sonya Deville ended up approaching Pierce. She ended up asking Pierce if he still has the money from when she was fined. Sonya Deville ended up saying that she could hire someone new. So Anna Pierce ended up telling Deville that that's enough, and that she has a match against Raquel Rodriguez later on. You know, Smiley Raquel. Yeah, so we saw that later on in the night. Sonya Deville versus Smiley Raquel. So then we saw the Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. They end up coming down to the ring. So as SmackDown came back from the commercial, they were in the ring, and there was a green table with a green cloth over the table. So Sheamus got on the mic. He ended up saying that the place is floundering. He ended up calling the fans fake Irish folks. Sheamus ended up saying that they will be making history tonight. He wanted to say that thought he was supposed to bro kick McIntyre's head off. But he will not be doing so until McIntyre's sword, Angela, is banned from ringside. So Sheamus then called McIntyre a lunatic for trying to chop his head off. He ended up saying that his sword, that McIntyre's sword, Angela, has no place in the ring. So then Drew McIntyre ended up making his way out, of course with Angela in hand. Sheamus ended up telling McIntyre that his sword has no place in the ring. Ridge Holland ended up trying to take Butch outside the ring, because, you know, Butch is always riddled up. So McIntyre ended up asking, what happened to Sheamus? He ended up calling Sheamus a bitch. McIntyre was like, oh, where's the humble Sheamus from the beginning of his career? He ended up saying that the company needs a good champion. McIntyre ended up telling Sheamus that he wants to do the number one contenders match right now. So he ended up telling Sheamus to have some balls. Sheamus ended up saying that he is better than McIntyre. He ended up saying that if he wants that fight, if McIntyre wants that fight, then he will get it. But not tonight. Sheamus ended up saying that he spoke with management, and the match will take place next week on SmackDown. To which Sheamus ended up saying it's going to be a good old-fashioned Donnybrook's match, with McIntyre's sword, Angela, being banned. Sheamus then took the green cloth off the table, and under the cloth was shillelaghs. So Sheamus ended up challenging McIntyre to the first ever shillelaghs and shenanigans match. Pretty much basically a hardcore match in disguise. So Adam Pearce ended up coming out because Sheamus was like, get Adam Pearce out here so he can make this official. So Adam Pearce then came out and he made the match official. And Sheamus was holding one of the shillelaghs. McIntyre ended up breaking the shillelagh with Angela the sword. And pretty much that was basically that. So we're getting that match next week. It's going to be a shillelagh and shenanigans match with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. But it's a hardcore match, but it's disguised as a shillelaghs and shenanigans match. So, there you go. That's happening next week on SmackDown. And then we saw Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was backstage. He ended up approaching the Usos. The Usos ended up talking about taking out Austin Theory ahead of the match. Paul Heyman ended up calling the Usos the greatest tag team of this generation. He ended up saying that if the Usos drop Austin Theory, then it becomes 2 on 3. So Paul Heyman ended up saying that they should exploit Austin Theory. And telling them to take him out after the match. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we had Raquel Rodriguez, Smiley Raquel, just coming out there smiling, waving. And she ended up taking on Sonya Deville. This was just a quick match here. It's very, very boring. We had both Raquel and Deville end up locking up. Deville ended up slapping Raquel in the face, delivered an elbow. Deville ended up whipping Raquel Rodriguez's face into the top turnbuckle, tossed her to the mat. Sonya Deville then delivered a run knee to Raquel Rodriguez. She ended up going for the cover, and Rodriguez ended up kicking out. Rodriguez then delivered a headbutt to Sonya Deville, which she followed up with a right hand. Raquel ended up hitting the fallaway slam, which was followed by a splash out of the corner to Sonya Deville. Raquel then went for the cover, and Deville ended up kicking out. Raquel ended up getting Sonya Deville up and sent her down to the mat. Deville fired back with a DDT. She ended up going for the cover, but Raquel ended up kicking out. Raquel then delivered the Tejana Bomb on Sonya Deville. She ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Raquel Rodriguez ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a boring match. It was a very quick match, this was. And then we went to, originally supposed to be Aaliyah versus Lacey Evans, but that match didn't get in the way. So Aaliyah came out there. She was waiting for Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans then made her way out. So Lacey Evans ended up getting on the mic. And 3 weeks already, this has been happening, where she gets on the mic, she ends up trashing the fans, saying, oh, that's no way to treat an American hero. So Lacey ended up saying that Boston was built by American heroes. And it's no wonder Tom Brady left. Lacey Evans ended up telling the fans that they've accomplished nothing. Oh, Lacey, what did you accomplish? You accomplished nothing. When was the last time you had a match? So Lacey Evans ended up saying that fans should take notes on her. Ended up saying no one could walk a mile in her shoes because she's better than every single fan. So Aaliyah ended up grabbing Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans ended up saying that she will take care of her in a minute. So then Lacey then delivered the woman's right to Aaliyah and walked off. And that was that. What a waste of time. This was a waste of fucking time. 3 weeks already. It's the same fucking repetitive shit. Lacey Evans comes out there, gets on the mic, trashes the fans, knocks out Aaliyah, and walks off. You know, at this point, if WWE has nothing for Lacey Evans, keep her off TV. Why are you making her go on TV, coming out every single week, get on the mic, trashing the fans, woman's right to Aaliyah, and walking off? It's rinse and repeat. Copy and paste. So then we had Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with the special guest referee for the Usos and the Street Profits match at SummerSlam. You know, JEFF, JARRETT, Jeff Jarrett. Kayla Braxton ended up asking why Jeff Jarrett thinks Adam Pearce chose him. And Jeff Jarrett ended up saying that first off, the support has been overwhelming. Jarrett ended up calling the match the biggest match in the history of SummerSlam. Really? This is the biggest match in the history of SummerSlam? Oh my God, this is nowhere near the biggest match in the history of SummerSlam. So Jeff Jarrett ended up saying that they need a man who can get the job done and call it down the middle. He ended up saying the man is JEFF, JARR, ETT. That was that. Jeff Jarrett, special guest referee. Can you believe that? What year are we in? So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw, and I can't believe they did this, because I thought they were going to hold this off tonight, considering that Max Dupree was not on the show tonight, but instead they did it. We had the debut of Maxine Dupree. So she was backstage along with Marseille and Mansoir. She ended up saying that she is the new director of talent for the Maximum Male Models. And she will be presenting the new 2022 beachwear collection. Who cares? Please, get this Maximum Male Model shit off my TV. Maximum Fail Models. And who Maxine Dupree is, she is Sophia Cromwell. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She was in NXT, and if you watched NXT, she was there along with Von Wagner and Robert Stone. So she was basically with them too. So now she's up on the main roster as Maxine Dupree, as the sister of Max Dupree. Awful. This Maximum Male Model shit is fucking terrible. It needs to get off my TV. I'm like, am I watching a pro wrestling show or am I watching a fashion show? Garbage. Awful. Main event. The Usos and Austin Theory versus the Street Profits and Madcap Moss. And this was just a very meh match in my opinion. The Usos and the Street Profits going at it again. So the match started off with Dawkins and Jimmy. They end up starting it off. Dawkins ended up rolling up Jimmy, and Jimmy ended up kicking out. Dawkins then delivered a drop kick, which he followed up by a splash to Jimmy. Dawkins tagged in Montez Ford, and they delivered double drop kicks to Jimmy. And as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Madcap Moss and Jay. They were in the ring. Austin Theory tagged in, started beating down on Moss with some right hands. So we had Theory end up tagging in Jimmy, delivered some right hands to Moss in the corner. And the referee was distracted. Theory started beating down on Moss. Jay tagged in and he ended up going for a splash. Moss ended up moving out of the way and tagged in Dawkins. Dawkins ended up hitting the corkscrew in the corner to Jay, which Dawkins followed up with an enziguri. Dawkins ended up taking in Montez Ford. Ford delivered a splash onto Jay, and Ford ended up going for the cover. Jay ended up kicking out. Ford delivered a super kick to Jay, which he followed up with an enziguri. He hit another enziguri to Jay, and Jay ended up knocking Montez Ford into the commentary table. Jimmy ended up taking in. He ended up throwing Montez Ford over the barricade into the timekeeper's area. So later on in the match, we had Jimmy tagging in Austin Theory. Theory ended up hopping off the apron, and both of the Usos ended up delivering a super kick to Theory. Ford ended up flying over the top rope to take down, everyone out there. Theory ended up sending Moss into the ring and delivered an elbow. Theory then delivered a neck and backbreaker combo to Moss. So Theory ended up going for the cover. Moss ended up kicking out. So Moss delivered a shoulder tackle. Theory then ended up grabbing the Money in the Bank briefcase and started beating Moss down. And that caused a disqualification. So the Usos and Moss won the match by DQ. So post-match, Theory continued to hit Moss with the briefcase. And then we heard Brock Lesnar's music end up hitting. And Brock Lesnar came out. So WWE ended up swerving us because they said earlier that Brock Lesnar walked out of SmackDown because of Vince's announcement. So there was a report saying that Goldberg was going to replace Brock Lesnar, and that would be Goldberg versus Roman, possibly, at SummerSlam, if Brock Lesnar didn't come back. So thankfully, that wasn't the case of Goldberg coming tonight and replacing Brock Lesnar, because Lesnar walked out of SmackDown. But Brock Lesnar did end up showing up on SmackDown tonight. So Brock Lesnar came out wearing his cowboy hat. He came to the ring, and Theory was getting ready to fight back at Brock Lesnar with the briefcase in hand. Lesnar then delivered a kick to Austin Theory's midsection. Lesnar ended up picking up Austin Theory, and he gave Austin Theory a F5. Lesnar then grabbed the Money in the Bank briefcase, started beating down Theory with it. So Lesnar got Theory up again, and he delivered another F5 to Theory, and Theory ended up hitting the briefcase. And that was basically how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, WWE, with this, they swerved us when there was a report saying that, Lesnar walked out of SmackDown. So how much did it take for them to plead to Lesnar, saying, no, don't walk out. Please come and do this match with Roman, even though we all don't want to see it. Just come back and get the match over with next week at SummerSlam. So it must have took them a lot of pleading for Lesnar to come on SmackDown tonight, since, he walked out. But that was SmackDown. Overall, terrible show as always. It's absolutely god-awful. Nothing even happened on this show tonight. Moving on to AEW Rampage. Rampage was a good show tonight. We had Hangman Page and John Silver versus The Butcher and The Blade. We saw Lee Moriarty versus Dante Martin. Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Jamie Hayter were in action. They ended up taking on Skye Blue and Ashley D. Bose. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. In the main event, we had Jay Lethal versus Christopher Daniels. And we also got the rap battle between the Acclaimed and the Gunn Club. But good show Rampage was tonight. So Rampage, this was their week 2 of Fyter Fest, since last week was week 1. So week 2 of Fyter Fest on Rampage opened up with Hangman Page and John Silver versus The Butcher and The Blade. And this was originally supposed to be Alex Reynolds and John Silver versus The Butcher and The Blade, but of course, The Butcher and The Blade ended up taking out Alex Reynolds, badly. But this was a good match here. We had John Silver and The Butcher start off the match. Butcher ended up working on John Silver, started beating him down. Butcher tagged in The Blade, and The Blade ended up delivering a kick to John Silver's midsection. So he was kicking on John Silver in the corner. Silver fired back with a vertical suplex to The Blade. Hangman Page tagged in. He ended up taking out The Blade. Page then delivered a fallaway slam. And we had Page end up climbing up to the top turnbuckle and delivered a nice flying lariat to The Blade. Page ended up going for the cover, and The Blade ended up kicking out. Butcher then ended up dragging Page out of the ring. The Butcher ended up sending Page into the barricade. So we had the Butcher end up tagging in to become the legal man in the match. He delivered a chop to Page. Butcher ended up sending Page face first into the top turnbuckle and delivered another chop. So Butcher then tagged in Blade. Blade came in. He delivered a forearm to Page. Page started firing back with an elbow. And he ended up making the tag to John Silver. So Silver ended up taking the Blade down with an uppercut, followed by an elbow. Silver then ended up hitting a side slam. He ended up going for the pin on the Blade, but the Butcher ended up coming in to break up the pin. So the Butcher and the Blade delivered a assisted gutbuster to John Silver. The Blade ended up following up with a duck bomb. Butcher ended up tagging in, and John Silver ended up making the tag to Page. Page started delivering some elbows, and at the end of the match, we had Page end up hitting the buckshot lariat to the Blade, and he went for the cover, and there you go. John Silver and Hangman Page ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a good match here. It was a very enjoyable match. So then we had a pre-taped promo from Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia. And this was hyping up their match tomorrow night at Death Before Dishonor, where Wheeler Yuta is going to be defending the ROH Pure Championship against Daniel Garcia. Should be a good match there. And then we had Claudio Castagnoli. Claudio Castagnoli ended up coming out to address Jonathan Gresham ahead of their match tomorrow night, which Gresham is defending the ROH World Championship, which this match should be one of the best matches of the night, next to FTR versus the Briscoe Brothers 2 in their 2 out of 3 falls match. That's going to be for the ROH World Tag Team Championship. I think those 2 matches are going to be the best matches of the night at the pay-per-view at Death Before Dishonor. Hell, Samoa Joe versus Jay Lethal for the World Television Championship should be great also. But Claudio ended up saying that World Championships have eluded him his whole career, and that he thanks fans for his support. He ended up saying that he will crack Gresham's foundation. He ended up saying that no one can hold a candle to what he can do in the ring. So Claudio ended up saying that he can't think of a better way to continue this new chapter than beating Gresham. He ended up saying that he will be the new ROH World Champion. So good promo from Claudio Castagnoli. Claudio has not even held a world title. And this could be, his luck here. Maybe he defeats Gresham, and Claudio will be the new ROH World Champion. He can finally hold a World Championship. But we'll have to see tomorrow night. Should be a great match between them. Could be one of the best matches of the night. So then we saw a video package hyping up Wardlow's TNT Championship reign. He ended up welcoming everyone into his world. So he ended up saying that he's going to beat the shit out of the AEW locker room and also the ROH locker room or any other locker room. So pretty much Wardlow's going after anybody. That was that. And then we had Lee Moriarty versus Dante Martin. Matt Sydal accompanied Lee Moriarty. And the match started up with Moriarty and Martin end up locking up. Moriarty ended up getting the upper hand with a heel trip to Dante Martin. So Dante Martin ended up delivering a drop kick that knocked Lee Moriarty out of the ring. Moriarty ended up getting back in. Him and Dante Martin ended up going back to exchange submissions. Moriarty then ended up hitting a Northern-like suplex to Martin. He ended up going for the cover, and Dante Martin ended up kicking out. Lee Moriarty then delivered a stomp to the back of Dante Martin's neck, to which Moriarty followed up with a uppercut. Dante Martin then delivered a head scissors to Moriarty off the top turnbuckle, which was cool. And then we saw Stokely Hathaway. Stokely Hathaway ended up coming down to watch the match. Dante Martin then delivered a flying crossbody to Lee Moriarty. He ended up going for the cover, and Moriarty ended up kicking out. And then we saw a hype video. And this video was for the debut of Ari Daivari. He was known as Arya Daivari in WWE. This is Shawn Daivari's brother. Shawn Daivari is one of the producers in WWE. You all know that he managed Muhammad Hassan, in 2004. He used to get on the mic. He used to shout, "That's a Sonny Makima!" He used to be like that on the mic. It was just very funny. But we're seeing Ari Daivari debut soon in AEW. And then we had the rap battle between Max Caster and Austin Gunn. It was the Acclaimed and the Gunn Club. You had Anthony Bowens out there, Billy and Colton. So we had Lil Scrappy was the judge. And I'm like, who is Lil Scrappy? Is he a rapper? So this was pretty funny, this rap battle. So we had Austin Gunn. He was rapping away at Max Caster because he ended up mentioning about Max Caster being one of Bobby Lashley's sisters. Yeah, you all know that awful fucking segment. With Sami Zayn in the ring, and he brought out Bobby Lashley's sisters, which were these guys in women's clothing. Yeah, that was one of the worst Monday Night Raw segments in history. Next to Bayley's "This Is Your Life." Jeez, we don't want to forget about that Bobby Lashley's sisters segment. Fucking awful that was. So Austin Gunn mentioned that. So he then ripped on Max Caster's dad, making some jokes about tight ends and wide receivers. So then we had Austin Gunn and Colton and Billy. They ended up finishing their rap by giving them, the suck it, the two words, suck it. So Cass ended up responding, with his own rap. So we had Austin Gunn end up saying that John Cena wants his gimmick back. So Cass referred to the one, Billy Gunn. So it was just, rap battle back and forth. And Lil Scrappy ended up saying that the Acclaimed won. The Acclaimed won the rap battle. And then we had a brawl break out between the Acclaimed and the Gunn Club. Billy Gunn ended up tossing in a trash can, and Austin ended up hitting Max Caster with the trash can. You had Colton Gunn delivering a suplex to Anthony Bowens. And that was that. But overall, I thought this was funny, in my opinion. Them referencing, WWE stuff, as always. With Max Caster being one of Bobby Lashley's sisters, and John Cena's name being thrown in there. And then we had the main event. Jay Lethal versus Christopher Daniels. And, before the match, we had Mark Henry interviewing them ahead of the match. So this was a pretty entertaining match here. Jay Lethal ended up going at it. Jay Lethal was managed by Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh, great value, great Khali. So Jay Lethal started raining down some forearms and some right hands on Christopher Daniels. Christopher Daniels then delivered a body slam to Jay Lethal, to which he followed up with an elbow. Christopher Daniels ended up hitting a back elbow, and he ended up going for the pin, and Jay Lethal ended up kicking out. Jay Lethal then ended up hitting a chop on Christopher Daniels. Christopher Daniels ended up firing back with a kick to Jay Lethal. Lethal ended up sending Daniels out of the ring, and he delivered a tope suicida on Christopher Daniels. Christopher Daniels then got back on the apron, and Jay Lethal ended up sending him out with a cutter off the top rope. So Lethal then delivered another tope suicida to Christopher Daniels. Sonjay Dutt got in some stomps on Christopher Daniels while the referee was distracted, to which Jay Lethal then ended up sliding Christopher Daniels back into the ring. Jay Lethal then delivered an uppercut, and he followed up with an elbow to Daniels. Lethal then delivered a backbreaker to Daniels. He hit Daniels with the elbow, which he followed up with a super kick. So at the end of the match, you had Jay Lethal end up hitting a back body drop to Christopher Daniels, and Lethal ended up following up with the lethal injection for the win on Christopher Daniels. So there you go. Jay Lethal ended up winning the match. Post-match, Sonjay Dutt started beating Christopher Daniels down. He sent Daniels out to the outside, and then Satnam Singh delivered a body slam, which was the only thing that he did. So, if you ask me who to choose between Satnam Singh, Omos, and the Great Khali, I would choose none of them. The Satnam Singh is just the same as Omos and Great Khali. But only Satnam is the great value version of the Great Khali. So he delivered a body slam to Christopher Daniels. Jay Lethal locked in a sleeper and knocked out Christopher Daniels, while Sonjay Dutt is just screaming to the camera and calling out Samoa Joe, saying, "Oh, this is going to be you tomorrow night. This is going to be you, you son of a bitch." And then Jay Lethal's just on the camera like that, just saying, "Oh, this is going to be you." That was all that Sonjay Dutt did. So overall, Jay Lethal versus Christopher Daniels, it was an entertaining match. And it was a good Rampage tonight. I almost said Dynamite. Good Rampage tonight. But overall, that's it for my review of SmackDown and AEW Rampage. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And the next video will be a movie review of Nope. I am going to see Nope tomorrow, so looking forward to it. Heard it's a very good film. Jordan Peele directing it. So I'm very much looking forward to the film tomorrow. Seeing it in a new theater that opened up 5 minutes away from me. We got an Alamo Draft House, which is cool. So that theater's 5 minutes away. I could easily walk there. So checking out the film tomorrow. And maybe thinking about it. Maybe review Death Before Dishonor. So maybe I'll review that. Also. But we'll see. But anyways, thank you all for watching. And I'll see you all tomorrow with the review of Nope. So see you all then.